Good afternoon, or good morning. If you could please take your seats, we will begin shortly.
Good morning. Welcome. Before today's City Council meeting convenes, we will have a convening of the Verdin Community Facilities District. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Elvira Galindo.
He's here.
Board Member Guardado.
Here.
Board Member Hodge Washington.
Here.
Board Member O'Brien.
Here.
Board Member Pastor.
Here.
Board Member Robinson. Here. Board Member Waring. Here. Vice Chair Stark. Here. Chairwoman Gallego.
Here. I will now open the public meeting. Do we have any comments? We do not. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number V-04 approving the final district budget for fiscal year 24-25?
I move to approve resolution number V-04.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Here. Yes. Sorry.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson. Yes. Waring. Yes. Stark. Yes. Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Next, we move to the proposed tax levy for fiscal year 24-25. I will open the public hearing. Do we have any comments? We'll close the public hearing. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on item 6?
Yes, I move to approve resolution number V-05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you so much. This concludes the public meeting of the Verdin Community Facilities District Board of Directors. We will now adjourn that meeting, and we will turn to Police Chaplain Harry Sexton for an invocation before our formal meeting.
Madam Mayor, honorable members of the City Council, my prayer today is based upon Psalm 133, verse 1, which reads, "How good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony." May harmony ever be the descriptive word that applies to the work accomplished here today. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, hear my prayer for unity, that we may all act in love towards each other as you first demonstrated your love to us. May we consistently act with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience toward one another, living in unity with you and all of our brothers and sisters. May we lay down the words that attack, set aside our grievances, and forgive each other as you forgave us. Let your unity fill this place so that we, as brothers and sisters, may make wise decisions that lead to harmony, which is both good and pleasant for all. Amen.
Thank you. Councilman Robinson, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain Sexton. Thank you, Councilman Robinson. And Councilman Robinson, would you please introduce a distinguished delegation that is with us today?
Certainly. Thank you very much, Mayor. Today we have with us, and Hector Zelaya is the director of the Watts College of Public Service and Community Solutions. Within the program, within the college itself, is the Mandela Fellows Program. I believe it's about the 10th year that they are here. There are about 25 fellows from 17 different African countries, and they're here in the audience today. I think they're here for a good portion of the month, and then they'll be in D.C. learning more about American, how government works at the local, state, and federal level. So welcome to everybody today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Councilman Robinson, and to the delegates, thank you for coming to Phoenix. It is a real honor for us to host you, and we hope that you have a great experience while you are here. We'll now convene the formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Galindo Elvira.
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor Stark.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. Mario Barajas is with us to provide interpretation. Mario, would you introduce your team?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Good morning. My name is Mario Barajas, and I'm going to be serving as one of the two interpreters. Together with Elsie Duarte, we'll be interpreting for our Spanish audience. Now, I'll take a moment to introduce ourselves to our Spanish-speaking audience. Muy buenos días, yo soy Mario Barajas y junto con mi colega Elsie Duarte estaremos sirviéndoles como intérpretes para esta reunión de esta mañana. Deseamos pedirles de antemano, si es que van a estar dando un comentario público, les pedimos de que comenten de una manera clara, lenta, evitar distracciones de fondo y finalmente pausar después de una o dos oraciones. Así, de esa manera podemos interpretarles de la mejor manera posible. Gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mario. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G 7270 and 7272 through 7285, S 51069 and 51145 through 51165, and resolutions 22230 through 22232.
Thank you. And now I'll turn to the city attorney to explain public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. The city council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. Additionally, any members of the public who appear before council in their capacity as a lobbyist must, as required by Phoenix City Code, disclose this fact before addressing council. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose the opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. We'll begin with the meeting minutes. Councilman Waring, do you have a motion on item 1?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on item 2?
I move to approve the May 11th, 2022 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Councilwoman Pastor, do you have a motion on item 3?
I move item number 3 of the approval of meeting minutes 5/25/2022.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Councilwoman Hodge Washington, do you have a motion on item 4?
Motion to approve item number 4.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. We next move to boards and commissions. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move to approve the mayor and city council boards and commission nominations.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Now we will
Aye.
conduct a swearing in for our wonderful commissioners who will advise us on a variety of different topics from transportation to pensions. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Will do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of. State your office. According to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you for serving our community. Thank you so much to our commissioners. So many of our best ideas have come from our boards and commissions. The City Council provides an advisory role to the state of Arizona on liquor license applications, and we'll go to that portion of the agenda next. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
I move to approve items 6 through 22.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, I move to approve items 23 through 69, except the following: items 25, 26, 35, and 65 through 68, noting that item 41 is being continued to August 26, 2024, noting that item 69 is being continued to September 4th, 2024, and can the clerk confirm if there are any other items that should be excluded for in-person public comment?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, also excluding items 45 and 54. That's excluding also items 45 and 54.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Today's council meeting has a lot of important work, including 522 new units of housing in the city of Phoenix. One of the most important is the adoption of the property tax levy for 24-25 fiscal year. Open the public hearing. We don't have any residents to comment. We will close the public hearing. The proposed levy reduces the rate, so it will be a tax rate reduction. Vice Mayor, item 26, do we have a motion?
Yes, I move the adoption of the property tax levy for 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone wish to comment? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson, Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 35 is next, wireless communication service, accessory and equipment. Vice Mayor.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This item helps us with our wireless devices, such as cell phones. I want to congratulate the city ITS department. They have been working with Finance and Bloomberg Associates, which has provided consulting services to the city of Phoenix. They've looked at how we are using wireless, and just within the fire department, they were able to help us get a 42% decrease in wireless spending year over year. So we are trying to be smarter with the taxpayer dollars, and I would love to recognize ITS and Bloomberg for the great work they are doing, which will be applied across the city. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson, Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next go to item 45, which is the South Mountain Activity Complex renovation, a construction manager at risk amendment. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have public comment. We will have Jerry first, followed by Tim.
Morning, Jerry Van Gass. I know this is the last meeting of the session this fiscal year, but we always peruse the agenda items. And anytime we see an amendment to a parks agenda item, it's a red flag. Usually it turns out to be a money grab. In this case, it's no different. We're in the seventh year of a 5-year renovation plan at South Mountain Park to be ready for the centennial in 2024, which is halfway through. The project is 60% completed. Plus, they've added on 2 new items. SMEEK, the Educational Center, and a trailhead. And they've also allocated another $10 million to the Activity Center, which is sat there. Valley Rain has a contract for it. They've done nothing in 7 months. We've gotten no answers. It's a black hole down there. There's nothing on the website. Rangers, park personnel, public, nobody has they're getting no answers as to why. Our attorneys have already started looking into this because in May, this money was shown on the Parks Board agenda item as already allocated. So what are you voting on today? To cover your butt? This is totally absurd, and we're looking at some fraud here. And our attorneys will be sending a bunch of public record requests. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. This isn't the only thing that's been happening down there. And you've been hearing about that. We've gone back 4 years to illegal dumping of materials down there, which has never been, there are no answers on that either. So we're going to get some answers. Thank you. I have handouts for everybody.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. I realize this is the last meeting of the year, but I just want to follow up with what Jerry was saying. There was no city input, there was no public input into all this money that's being spent at South Mountain. My question is, why not? The public has a right to be putting their input into what is being spent, especially at the park, and nothing has been really discussed with the public. We're taking now another $5 million for stuff that we're not even sure what they're doing in South Mountain. And I think we're at a point that someone needs to start addressing and telling the public exactly what is being done down there, how much is being spent down there, what the money is being spent on, so that they have a clear understanding of exactly the usage of the money. This was not even brought up to the Parks Board, so I'm trying to figure out how they can spend this money and allocate this money if it has not even gone and through the correct procedures that is necessary for the spending of all this money at South Mountain. So we're just trying to keep everyone honest here. We're trying to keep everyone transparent, and it doesn't seem like we're getting much in the transparency area, especially with the city of Phoenix. We have requested many different FOIA requests, and we haven't received any. So I guess we're just going to keep going on our current route. We'll just submit more and probably have more meetings with more reporters to find out exactly why this isn't being done through the city. Thank you.
Thank you. That is our final public comment. Any questions? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next go to item 54, which is a rezoning application at Cave Creek Road and Quail Avenue in District 2. We'll begin with public comment. Spencer Freeman.
I'll keep it. Is it on?
Yeah, but if you want to move it, since you're taller, maybe move it up a little.
On? I just wanted to know on the zoning, is the zoning being completely changed down there? It's across the street from my house and everything else like this. So this is the last hearing on that zoning hearing?
Yes, this would be.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a motion or comments from?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And maybe if someone from our team could catch Spencer and walk him through what's happening. Any comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor. Robinson. Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
So, Mr. Freeman, I think there is someone at the back who could, our deputy city manager. We're going straight to the top. Yes. Items 65 and 66 are related cases. We'll have 2 votes, but 1 public hearing. It's related to the southeast corner of 19th Avenue and Baseline Road. We'll open the public hearing. We do not have any members of the public. We have, Richard is here in support, available to speak if necessary. We will close the public hearing. We'll first have a motion on item 65, and I'll turn to Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item 65.
Per the Planning Commission recommendation and adopt the related resolution, correct?
Councilwoman Hodge Washington, your motion was per the Planning
That is-
Commission? Perfect. We have motion.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
We did get a second
Second.
from Councilman Galindo Elvira or the Vice Mayor. Comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 66 is next. Councilwoman, do you have a motion to approve per the Planning Commission recommendation and adopt the related ordinance?
I will move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor, Robinson, Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 67 is a downtown code text amendment. Do we need a staff report? Yeah, we will open the public hearing. Joan will be our first speaker, a veteran of city planning, including the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego. I appreciate that. I am here because this was such a confusing case all the way through, so I would like to speak and make sure there are no questions on it, as we did for a number of months. First, I fully support what the Central City Village Planning Committee finally agreed to, which is a much reduced area, and the Planning Commission did as well. This was a confusing case because an applicant went to the planning department and asked for a zoning variance. He did it for a lot on the east side of Central Avenue, not even in our neighborhood, and suddenly we found ourselves with a text amendment that covered a whole bunch of territory in the Roosevelt neighborhood. And this text amendment on top of the urban forum, we saw no need for it. In fact, there was a lot of opposition, solid opposition to it on all the properties they put down. However, I do want to put for the record that Mr. Duncan is proposing a very nice development, which we would probably support. Zoning variance probably would have worked on this one.
Does anyone have any questions for Joan? And we are always looking to improve our processes, so thank you. I'm hopeful we will have some more robust changes to the downtown code coming up in fall that are
We would be happy to be involved with those. Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you for your service with so many hats at the City of Phoenix.
Thank you.
Checking. Believe that is all our speakers on this. Okay, so we have Peter available to speak if necessary from Shepley Bullfinch on behalf of the applicant. Does anyone wish to hear from? All right. Close the hearing, and I will turn to Councilman Galindo Elvira for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Joan, thank you for being here, and thank you for your leadership in the community. It is greatly valued. And with that, Mayor, I move to approve per the Planning Commission's recommendation and to adopt the related ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Galindo Elvira,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Waring, Stark,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to the northeast corner of 24th Street and Camelback Road. And we do not need a staff report on this one, is that right? We don't. Okay, then I'll introduce our planning director, Josh Bednarik, for a staff report.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to present on this request. I'll turn to our Deputy Director, Tricia Gomes, to walk the council through the request. Trish.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Item 68 is PHO-2-24-Z-86-06-6. It's located at the northeast corner of 24th Street and Camelback Road. The subject site is located within the Camelback East Village core, where developments with the greatest height and most intense uses should be located. The subject site is also located within the Camelback East primary core specific plan, which contains the regulatory development standards and design guidelines for developments within the planning area. The Camelback East primary core specific plan was adopted in 1991 and amended in 2006. The 2006 amendment process had significant community input with approximately 30 meetings and public hearings. Majority of the subject site was approved for C2 high-rise in 2006, subject to 10 stipulations. As a part of the zoning approval, as well as the Camelback East Primary Core Specific Plan Amendment, the subject site was subject to the building height exhibit on the right, where you can see the south half of the property is approved for 165 feet. The 2006 conceptual site plan and elevations focused on phase 1 development of 2 towers, which were buildings J and K, indicated in purple. 2006 elevations. Future towers beyond phase 1 needed to conform to the building height exhibit and be reviewed through the planning hearing officer hearing process. The request before you today is to review a new tower, Building P, located on the southeast portion of the property as outlined in stipulation 2 for a tower exceeding 112 feet. The 2024 site plans depict the location of Building P and slight variation in the footprint of the building depending on the mix of uses. The elevations here are for illustrative of the 140 feet for option 1 and 165 feet for option 2. If this request is approved, the next steps would be the plan review process. Professional staff conduct detailed reviews to ensure compliance with all stipulations, codes, ordinances, and the Camelback East primary core specific plan, for example, setbacks, lot coverage, and traffic studies. The planning hearing officer recommended approval with modifications and additional stipulations. The planning commission recommended approval per the planning hearing officer recommendation by a vote of 8-0. This case was appealed by a member of the community. Staff recommends approval per the planning commission's recommendations. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Before we open the hearing, any questions? Councilman Robinson.
Mayor, thank you very much. Josh and Trish, thank you very much for the information. This is one of these situations where it was put in place some time ago, back in 2006, I believe, and approved by council, and I believe Trish hit on that. But in the last couple of weeks, I've received a bunch of calls from folks who believe that there's an entire process that should be revamped or redone or repeated. But could you answer just a couple of questions for me? If you go back one slide, I think it's that particular one more, is what needs the next steps. This particular process, the plan review process, is done by your particular office, Josh, and can you give us an idea of how stringent, how strict it would be based on the original agreement?
Mayor, Councilman Robinson, members of the council, it will go through, as Ms. Gomes testified, a thorough review by not only our team within the Planning and Development Department, but our partners in street transportation, fire. We'll look at every aspect of the Camelback East Core specific plan, the zoning ordinance, and review it against and any of the approved stipulations. And so all of those items would have to be addressed and deemed to be in compliance, or a potential public hearing would be triggered.
A little bit further on that. On the traffic study, let's say the traffic study comes back and there's something about it. Can you tell us who would take care of whatever changes need to be made and how that process would proceed?
Mayor, Councilman Robinson, members of the council, if in a scenario where the traffic study comes back and says it's going to trigger a situation that might warrant further traffic mitigation, the applicant would work with our traffic engineers and the street transportation department to respond. So as an example, there's a signal on 26th Street. There could be a scenario where enhancements to that signal are made or other traffic control measures are installed around the surrounding property.
Thank you very much. Mayor, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you so much. We will open the public hearing. Each side will have 5 minutes. The applicant can reserve time to rebut within that 5-minute frame. I believe we'll begin with Ed Bull.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Ed Bull, 1850 North Central Avenue. And as you know, I'm a registered lobbyist. I'm here on behalf of Verdin Macerich. The application is I don't seem to be on our presentation. But in any event, if someone can get me onto our presentation, people here with me today from RED include Jeff Malosnik. Madison Leak from our office is also here. As you can imagine, we're very pleased with the PHO's recommendation, the Planning Commission's unanimous recommendation in accordance, and with staff's recommendation for approval. As Josh and Trish touched on, and as Councilman Robinson elaborated on, these cornerstones of this development have been in place since 2006, and they didn't happen just willy-nilly. They happened as a result of numerous meetings, hearings, and in a slide in a minute we'll detail some of that. But with respect to the site itself, it's at the northwest corner of 26th and Camelback, within the Biltmore Fashion Park that's at the northeast quadrant of 24th and Camelback. I think importantly is that, and by the way, on this aerial, the Biltmore Fashion is outlined in blue. The proposed site for Building P is outlined in green. As you can see on some of the little stickers that are on there, the closest single-family home is over 800 feet away. Goals and objectives and so on were a big part of the numerous meetings that Trish touched on. Importantly, I believe, is the fact that in 2005 and then ultimately in 2006, this approval that involved an update to the specific plan and the C2 HR zoning was unanimously approved by the Village Committee, the Planning Commission, and the City Council on the specific plan, unanimously approved by the Village Committee, the Planning Commission, and the City Council on the C2 high-rise. In addition to all of the other public meetings, there were 7 hearings that involved this property. Critical to that had to do with height, goals and objectives, uses, so on and so forth, and they identified within the core gradient and various development areas, of which Biltmore Fashion Park is the most intense, is identified as being a location for the most intense uses, the greatest height, and diversity and so on that will occur in this core. We are not asking to change any of that. The PHO application provided some clarity as to how to move forward to the next step that was identified, which is the plan review processes. The exhibits that are on the screen were both shown to you before. It identifies this site as being appropriate for up to 165 feet of height based upon satisfying various incentives. This PHO application that we processed, as I indicated, is in accordance with the specific plan. It's in accordance with the C2 HR zoning. It didn't change any of the heights, any of the incentives, any of the uses. All of that's in accordance with what was approved and been on the books and publicly available for 18 years. We went way and above and beyond neighborhood outreach that's required. The yellow highlighted line at the top is what's required by the city's rules and processes. Everything below that is extra outreach that we did. In conclusion, we appreciate the Planning Commission's recommendation, the staff recommendation, the PHO's recommendation, all of which we believe are correct in accordance with what should occur here on this site. We thank you, and I'll stand for questions now or later if you have them.
Any questions for Ed now? We have 2 appellants, Crystal and Robert. We'll leave it to them to decide how to divide up the 5 minutes. But I only see Rob. Well, I don't see Crystal, so you get the whole 5 minutes. Do we have Crystal? All right. 5 minutes is yours.
Excellent. Oh, gotta set this up for a short guy. I'm Robert Marino, 2575 East Camelback Road, 85016. Thank you for the opportunity and the time to speak today. I'm here today representing the Esplanade, a neighboring property to the proposed project. We've submitted several letters in opposition to this application throughout the process and have expressed a variety of concerns around it. I'll be brief today, and I won't reiterate many of those concerns because I believe ultimately this really boils down to something very simple. We've stated numerous times that we're not an anti-development organization. We are actually quite the opposite. We are currently underway with a major revitalization of the Esplanade, which amounts to more than $45 million in investment. We're not opposing this site for development. We are not asking for a denial of this application. We are simply asking that this project undergoes the review of the East Camelback Village Planning Committee. We understand the applicant does not control the VPC, and the chairperson of that board unilaterally chose to not review this case, something a former village chairperson testified before the City Planning Committee several weeks ago, describing that choice as a dereliction of duty for a project of this magnitude. And furthermore, he actually recommended that there be a codified requirement around what VPCs choose to review and not review because it leaves so much latitude. The only reason we're here today is because, as we understood the rezoning from 2006, there was an agreement made that any project looking to tap bonus heights based on the stipulations in the rezoning, a process where, Ed just stated, there were many, many meetings, there was an agreement that if anyone were to tap into those bonus heights, it would go to the village for a public review. Now, a single individual chose not to review the project, seemingly disenfranchising many members of the community of a forum where the project details can be discussed and reviewed in a fulsome manner. The council can rectify this by sending the project back to the VPC, and I would ask that you take that into consideration when making your recommendation. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you. Before I close the public hearing, any questions for either? I'll close the public hearing, and I will turn to Councilman Robinson.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, with all the attention surrounding this particular development and all the work that has been done, I think the presentation by staff really gives us a broad overview of the work that has been accomplished over the years and the work that the developer has done in reaching out to the neighborhood. And I get where Mr. Marino is coming from. But at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve per the Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call. Councilwoman Pastor.
I just have one question in the process. And as the gentleman stated, he was not opposing. EPC, the chair has the ability or authority to decide what goes on the agenda. This case was heard, and I remember voting on it, I want to say 2006. And so I'm making an assumption, which I don't like to make an assumption, but that the chair at that time, everything we voted on, it's just now coming back for review, and then went on to the Planning Commission, and then now it's here today.
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, your assessment is correct. Again, in this instance, the chair, using his authority, declined to hear the case at the VPC, but it did receive a full hearing before the planning hearing officer and Planning Commission, which recommended approval, now before the council.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Roll call.
Galindo Elvira.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Waring. Stark.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. We will adjourn shortly, but wanted to invite the Mandela Fellows, if you would like to come behind the podium. We would love to do a photo with you. And with that, we are adjourned. Have a happy and safe 4th of July.